I know I'm a criminal and I've broken all these laws. I wasn't this bold. What's up, you guys? Welcome to today's video, the first video of 2022, and I'm going to be talking about a jail escape. Now, I served time in this facility, and when I saw it pop up in my newsfeed, I laughed out loud. Like, it's not funny, but it is, because inmates are brilliant and they will figure out a way to get whatever they want or get out of the facility, which I don't recommend if you get arrested. Don't escape, it's all bad. But I completely understand why this happened in this facility because I did time there and I know how it operates. So I was not surprised, but I did laugh a little bit. I know, shame on me for laughing. If you guys are new here, hi, my name is Jess. I'm a person in long-term recovery who has served time in prison. And my entire crazy life story is in the description box down below. If you want to follow me on any other social media platform, TikTok, Instagram, Patreon, that's $2. It's only ever going to be $2. All of that is linked down below, as well as my vlog channel. Please go subscribe to that.
It really freaking helps.
Oh, I have a podcast too that I should probably record for. All of that is linked down below. But without further ado, let's kick this thing off. I'm going to open my computer and we're going to watch the news feed of these dudes leaving the facility. And it's not funny. I need to stop laughing. It's not funny. Like, this is really stupid on their part. Ignore. It said my computer was restarted for a problem. We just ignore those problems around here. I love the caption here because it's valid. This is why this happened. It says Sebastian County Sheriff says staff shares the blame for jail escape. Shares the blame. It's like literally all their fault, but we'll get there in a second. And then on the screen it also says Sebastian County Sheriff says policy violations and staff failures led to escape. Okay, here we go.
Well, policy violations and staff failures are what the Sebastian County Sheriff says allowed 2 inmates to escape. That and the help of these tools. This is before being recaptured last night. The sheriff's office says that Jeremiah Slavens and Dustin Smith climbed out through the ceiling above the shower and used objects from the jail to help them make a break for it. Whoa. He says that jail employees should have realized what happened a lot sooner.
Severe disciplinary measures are currently being looked at. We're still in the middle of an internal investigation, so that will be forthcoming. There is going to be severe discipline at this point to several employees.
Both inmates are now being charged with second-degree escape. They had been charged for drug possession and other lesser charges.
First of all, if you get arrested, do not escape. Don't do that. They're in for like petty drug violations. And because of that, now they're being charged with escape. It's a whole new thing. It's a whole new charge. Really, really stupid. Now the first guy was apprehended, I think the same night, and then the second guy was arrested the next day. Here's the thing that you have to understand. Who wants to do more time, right? Like, who wants to do more time? Nobody. So if you're arrested and you escape, first of all, they're going to catch you because you're like priority 1 in that community that you escaped in. They're going to find you. Everyone in jail thinks about it at some point and they think, oh, I could get away with it. I could do this. I could do that. The plan always falls apart. You are always rearrested. Like, they're going to find you. Can you name anyone except the dudes from like Alcatraz that escaped and was not rearrested? It's ridiculous. Don't do that. You're only going to make your life harder. And also, they could shoot you. They could kill you. If you escape a facility and you are running from the cops, they could use deadly force. I think people forget about that as well. If you escape a prison or a facility of any kind, then they can use deadly force because you are a direct threat to the community. They have to keep their community safe, right? And if an inmate is just running around and they're at large and they do not want to go back to prison, then they're going to do whatever they can to evade law enforcement. And that usually means breaking other laws, endangering people. It's just not safe at all. I mean, it is a really dangerous situation for the community, so they can use lethal force. So I served time in this facility and inmates are left alone for hours and hours and hours. So in my experience, the female inmates in this jail, they were left 23-1 all the time. And what that looked like was we would be left in our cells all day long. Now these are 2-person cells, and sometimes we would be packed with 4 people in a 2-person cell. So that is really, really hard. So you have 2 bunks, right? And then they would bring in an extra mattress and a blanket, and there would be 2 people sleeping on the floor and 2 people sleeping on a bunk. If one of the people could get on the top bunk, Now I've seen it where everyone has to sleep on the ground and like one person can be on the bottom bunk and then 3 people on the ground, which means you're literally sleeping next to the toilet. Like you're sleeping on the toilet, basically. Like these are really tight and really small cells, right? So this jail already has a ton of flaws and a ton of problems. One of them being that inmates are essentially left for hours and hours and hours with no one checking on them. And they come in, they feed you your meal. Most of the time you can get out of your cell. Now, the women at mealtime, more often than not, they would be let out of their cells to either shower or eat. They never gave us enough time for both. And every single CO is different in how they run the pod, but most of the time while I was there, we were kept in our cells all day, every day, except when we come out for meals. And if you upset one of the guards, guess what? You're eating in your cell. And that was just so ridiculous. I'm not like complaining that it was hard to stay in the cell all day, even though it definitely was. What I'm saying is this is a very serious issue where if you need medical attention and there's no guard in the unit, guess what? You're not getting medical attention. Now, this jail is very, old in that what they have is a system where if you yell and the volume gets above a certain decibel, the control room is supposed to be notified and they're supposed to be able to hear that. So what happened in many instances while I was at this facility, someone would be having a seizure and someone would be in need of medical attention, would be screaming and yelling and banging on the doors for hours before someone came in to help that person. I saw that happen more times than I can even count. Now, maybe things have changed. I doubt it. I doubt it. So it's not necessarily like, oh, it's really hard to stay in the cell, I'm complaining about going to jail. No, it's a safety issue. The jail is responsible for your safety, for your well-being. The jail has to follow laws, right? They have to feed you. They have to give you water. They have to give you clothes. There are basic rights that inmates have, like not the right to not be sexually assaulted in jail. That is a right that inmates have. They have basic rights. Now, they're not the same as everyone else's constitutional rights on the outside, right? But they're very, very basic, and there are guidelines and laws in place that the facility has to follow, and oftentimes they don't. So the reason why these 2 guys were able to escape is because they were being left alone for a long period of time. And this, from what I read, was in the shower. So the inmates were able to essentially go in the shower, lift up this light, and climb into the ceiling, which would make me so nervous. Like, I know I'm a criminal and I've broken all these laws. I wasn't this bold. I might steal a freaking brush from the nurse in medical, or a pen, or like some gum or some tobacco. I'm not gonna escape. Like this whole thing just causes so much anxiety just even thinking about what they did. Like this takes a lot of nerve. This is a ballsy thing, right? So they essentially hit the jackpot when they lifted up this light in the shower and climbed into the ceiling. They found an iron worker's tools, and the jail said they could have been up there for decades. Like, how irresponsible is it that someone was working up there a long time ago and just left the tools up there and then closed the ceiling? First of all, like what? Who does that? So irresponsible. So once they were up there, they found a water hose. They were able to crawl through the ceiling and get on the roof and use the iron worker's tools and this rope and a sheet, I think, and they were able to climb down off of the roof. Man, I would be so scared. And then you see them in the video running away. I'm just gonna read like this little section. The 2 men made their way through the space with an electric tablet used for video visitation and other purposes that hadn't been turned in as a light source. So I guess they had tablets and they weren't collected at the end of that day, so that CO is gonna get in trouble, if I'm understanding that right. Then they found the iron worker's tools. So what happens when you have a jail escape is like it affects every single inmate. It affects everyone. The facility goes on lockdown. If a tablet was used, they're gonna say that the other inmates can't have the tablet. These guys are probably going to be kept in solitary confinement and monitored, really, really closely. But it affects every single person in the jail, and I promise you, every single person in that jail hates these 2. They're so mad. They hate them because when 2 inmates escape a facility, that had nothing to do with Jess. I'm just chilling making a jailhouse burrito on Christmas Eve. I didn't do this, right? But it affects me because they're gonna come in, they're going to search for extra bed sheets, they're gonna search for any kind of contraband at all. I'm sure they shook down the entire facility to make sure this doesn't happen. They locked down the facility. Guess who's not getting a shower? anytime soon, the inmates in that facility, because now they have to make sure there's no way to get in the roof from the shower. So like it affects every single piece of jail life, and every single inmate is miserable, and everyone hates these two people. Everyone in that facility, including the staff, are pissed off, and they hate them for doing that for multiple reasons. The staff are mad because it makes them look stupid, right? They weren't doing their job, and these guys escaped. These two inmates escaping is a direct reflection of how poorly that jail is really run, and how little these inmates are actually supervised throughout the day. And this essentially comes from two reasons. Maybe they don't have that many officers on staff, and also the officers that they do have don't care. I am currently friends with 3 former COs that worked at this facility, and I also did time at this facility. It doesn't run properly. I don't even believe that the COs get proper training in how to do basic things that you should be able to do if you're a corrections officer, like de-escalate a situation. Honestly, like the temperament of a lot of the guards that I met there were not good, if I'm being honest. When I was doing time there, the guards could literally choose whether or not they came into the female pod and let us out. They could choose whether or not they sat in the front of the jail, or they could come back and sit with us in the unit. And certain officers would come back and let us out when they were on duty, and they would sit in there with us for a few hours so that we could shower and make phone calls. Sometimes they'd let us go to rec, sometimes they would not let us go to rec. I mean, rec was really few and far between for the females in that jail. I think we were allowed outside for fresh air maybe once a month, and that's probably being generous. It was really few and far between. And when I say outside, I mean like a cement box. So all you're getting is fresh air, but that fresh air is so important, and I feel like it's necessary to the mental health of inmates, just fresh air. And it was one of those things where in this jail, all the guards had to do was come open the doors, chill in that unit for a few hours, and all they had to do to let us go to rec was just open a door that was attached to the unit. That's it, just open the door. And we're in this cement box. It was not that hard. So the 2 inmates escaping is a direct result of the staff not being trained, the staff not paying attention, the staff failing to do many protocols that night. I mean, this was just a complete failure on the staff's part. Also, it is one of those situations where every single inmate hates you, so it affects everyone. And in my personal experience, having done time in a facility where someone walked off and just left a county jail, I know firsthand that like this affects every inmate, and we all get punished for the actions of 2. So we're all gonna be kept locked down, we're all gonna be punished, we're all not gonna be able to go to the shower, and it sucks, man. The actions of these 2 knuckleheads affects everyone. It was just a really selfish move on these 2 inmates' parts. They know how things like that affects every single inmate, but So my advice to you, if you find yourself in a situation and you are arrested, don't freaking escape, bro. I feel like I shouldn't have to tell you that. It's just gonna make your life harder. And when you go back to that jail, because you will, every single inmate is going to be pissed. They're gonna hate you. Say there are 1,000 people in this jail, including staff. If you escape, guess what? You just made 1,000 freaking enemies, bro. I would like to say that every inmate thinks about escaping. We all think about it. We all think about it. We all get frustrated. We all don't want to be there. We all think about escaping. We've all thought about like, oh man, the best prison escape would be like if a helicopter came on the yard, like that would be the best, right? We've all thought about it. Or like, wow, that guard didn't just do his job or her job, and I could have just escaped just then. There are moments like that all the time, There are moments like that, especially in county jails, where I'm like, wow, I really could have just I could have just ran down the freaking street. Like, this cop is so dumb. I could have just escaped. It's happened in prison too, where like, I mean, I wouldn't be allowed to do this. There is a side of the prison called Sallyport. It's the back of the prison, and there are inmates that work at Sallyport. So what Sallyport does is it brings in food trucks or linen trucks, like the trucks go to Sallyport, but also the inmates that are coming in, they go in through Sallyport. Now, every facility is different, but they have these gates, right? And sometimes I've been in facilities where the inmate has to open the gate. They have to run the gate open, and then they close that particular part of the gate. Now, there are guards watching over this, and typically prisons are like in the middle of nowhere, and prisons have guard towers, like with guns, bro. So the inmates that are allowed to work at that part of the prison, they've never escaped before, they don't have violent charges, they don't have life, they are at a low risk for escaping. The prison essentially chooses who is and who is not at risk for escaping, and they go by like what your charges are, how much time you have, if you've ever escaped before, blah, 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 right? Any violent case, you can't. So I could never work Sallyport because I am technically a violent offender. So a lot of times when I'm talking about changing policies and reform, Even if the policies were different back in the day, they wouldn't have affected me. Why am I a violent offender? Because I was arrested with a gun. And that's automatically, you're a violent offender. Even though I didn't use the gun, they just label me as that. So if you have made it this far, please leave some raccoons in the comment section down below. I would like to end this video with saying that I am a proud partner with Groups Recover Together. They are both online and in-person treatment program. They're available in a lot of states, so many that I can't keep track. We just expanded to like 8 more states, which is super exciting. They're going to New York, which I love. So all my New Yorkers out there, be on the lookout for that. Groups is a program that strongly leans on harm reduction. They offer medically assisted treatment. They're 420 friendly. And it is therapy for life. And I absolutely adore that entire team. I will leave my link with Groups in the description box of this video, but I'm gonna end today's video here. As always, I love you guys. Stay safe, stay in recovery, whatever that looks like to you. There is no wrong way to recover. If you get arrested, don't freaking escape, bro. And I'll see you guys in my next one.